Welcome everyone, it's Darlene McLennan here, and on behalf of ADSET and Attend, I would like to welcome you all to this webinar, Using Technology in the Classroom for Deaf Students. It's fantastic to have my friend and colleague, Gary Kerridge, presenting to us today. Gary, as many of you would know, is a National Disability Coordination Officer in Victoria, based in Victoria with Deakin University. Gary is deaf and has been in the profession for over 30 years. It's fantastic to have his expertise online today. A few housekeeping items before we start. We're very fortunate. Today we are trialling having an Auslan interpreter on screen as well as live captioning, which we normally have. So I'd like to say thank you to Rebecca from Bradley Reporting for the live captioning, and also to Ryan from Auslan Services for the Auslan interpreting. We hope this provides people with a first-hand experience of some of the things that Gary will be talking to us about today. A couple of other issues. Tasmania are experiencing a bit of an internet issue at the moment. I'm hoping we won't disconnect, but if we do, we won't be far away. It normally just takes a minute to reconnect, so please stay with us. Also, unfortunately, the GoToWebinar platform is not as accessible as we would desire for screen reader users. If you are a screen reader user, and if you have any questions or any comments, please email jane.hawkeswood, that's HAWKESWOOD at utas.edu.au. All participants have been muted. This is to ensure as little background noise is received during the webinar. The presentation will run for around 50 minutes. We have received a few questions prior to this webinar, and Gary is going to answer those at the beginning. But please feel free throughout the presentation to enter your questions into the pod question box or chat box, and I will choose a few at the end of the presentation if we have time. If you have any difficulties throughout the webinar, please feel free to email jane.hawkeswood@utas.edu and she will try to sort you out. All right, with great pleasure, I'd like to hand over to Gary. Thanks, Gary.
Excuse me, I've been sitting here for 5 minutes waiting to cook, and I didn't want to interrupt Darlene's talk. But welcome to this talk, and just to explain, I am deaf. You probably can hear that in my voice. Sometimes, when I get excited, I start to speak a bit loud. I start to speak a bit high-pitched as well. If any of you suffer a hearing loss as a result of listening to me today, at least this presentation will give you some tips on how to deal with it. All right, moving on to the first slide. And you will hear from me from time to time. I say, next slide, next slide, next slide. Darlene at the other end. She basically is in control of the slide. Now, what I thought I would do today is talk about deafness, talk about the classroom, talk about some of the technology that can help deaf and hard of hearing people in the classroom. And I've also got 3 questions here which I received yesterday, and I will try to incorporate those questions into my talk through the day. Now, as an example, the first question somebody asked me, when students who use hearing aids or cochlear implants, when they require additional services such as transcriptions and captions, is there a criteria that we can use to assess them? Now, I'll answer that in just a second, because when I'm talking about deafness in this talk, I'm talking about deaf people that use Auslan. I'm talking about hard of hearing people who use hearing aids or cochlear implants. I'm talking about people that might have a combination of communication, Auslan and speech. You will have some that prefer Auslan only, some that prefer captioning, some that prefer sound, some that prefer a combination of all of those. And no one is the same, and they will all have their own preference. If you hear me pause, that's only because I'm giving the interpreter a bit of time to catch up. All right, so in answer to that question, I don't think there is any criteria. The only criteria that you can have is to talk to the deaf or hard of hearing person and get them to tell you what they need. Some will prefer, I know some prefer transcripts over captioning. Most people prefer captioning. Some people prefer Auslan. The only criteria I can give you is to put the deaf or hard of hearing person in control in deciding what works best for them. Okay, next slide, thank you. Now, talking about technology, what would I know? Now, I was thinking about this just last night because I had, the last couple of months, I basically had this set in my mind what I was going to talk about. And then last night I was thinking about a time when I started a program in Adelaide. It was a mental health program for people who are deaf or hard of hearing, young people who are deaf and hard of hearing. And the goal of that program was to promote positive mental health in young deaf people, young deaf and hard of hearing people. So anyway, we had an issue because a lot of these people were living in the country and they were very isolated. And one of the things that impacts on mental health of young deaf people is that they don't have a lot of social outlets. They find it hard to be included in social groups and so on. So we wanted to find a way where we could include those people, those young people that were living in the country with the activities that we had in the city. And so we developed a relationship with Adelaide Tape. And basically what happened is they had a video conferencing unit. And we wanted to link up the people in the country at a tape in the country to the tape in Adelaide, and we could have video conferencing with them. So we could do that. We could do mentoring, we could do youth group planning, we could teach Auslan to families if we wanted to, all of that sort of stuff. But back then, we couldn't do what we're doing now. The internet was too slow. So you had to do video conferencing through the phone, basically. So we spoke to Adelaide Tape, and what happened is they wanted a big TV for their video conferencing. So we agreed to buy them a big TV if they could give us 12 months of free video conferencing. And they did. But back then, with video conferencing, it was done through the phone line. So the phone line, to make it work properly, like the quality that you see Ryan now, you needed 3 phone lines. 3 phone lines. And if you had less than that, the picture was very, very jerky. But 3 phone lines for an hour was about $600 worth. So it was very expensive. Luckily, we had it for free, and we experimented in doing this with just 2 phone lines. And although it was a bit jerky, we found if the people at each end adapted and were patient, we could communicate very well. So we did all sorts of things. We had a youth group that planned a social at the end of the year through video conferencing. We had a family in Port Pirie where we taught them Auslan to communicate better with their daughter. We had young mentors mentoring young people in the country through this video conferencing. So this was the first time I began to realise that, yeah, we can use technology to provide access to people who are deaf or hard of hearing. Now, moving along, When I moved to Ballarat in 2003, we discovered that it was very difficult to pay for interpreters, because for me to get an interpreter to Ballarat, which is only 1 hour from Melbourne, it was double the cost of getting an interpreter in Melbourne. And then if I moved out to Wollongong or Portland or anywhere like that, it was triple or quadruple the cost. So I did a little bit of work with Auslan services, that guy there you see on screen, and to work out if we could do it through Skype. And by doing that, you could cut the cost of interpreting. So you only had to pay, and so no driving, no time on the road, and you could get 2 interpreters, 1 interpreter for the same cost of what you were paying in Melbourne. So again, I started to experiment and find out the best way to do it. We did it with the internet, fixed line internet. We did it with those little dongles, 3G. We were successful with that as well. So we did lots of different things. And then the final part is, I'll just let the interpreter catch up here. The final part, one day I was exploring the internet, and I found Bristol University, which has a deaf studies unit. And this was in 2004, you have to realise, long before we knew what the internet was going to do, what it does now. And on the Bristol University page, they had the news, and they basically had deaf people who were on the screen filming themselves signing the news. And it's shown on your screen, very clear. Then I started to think, yeah, there are different things that you can do. You can teach people doing this. You can have captions doing this. And if you can't get interpreters out into the country, you can pre-record stuff and make it accessible. So in my head, going all over the place I know, I thought technology had a place to provide access to people who are deaf and hard of hearing. And basically, it spiraled from there. Basically, it just went from there. Now, I'd like you to remember that access is not an option. It's compulsory. So that's my message throughout this time. I don't like to hear, can't afford it, because right now, at this point in time, there is absolutely no reason why access cannot be provided to people who are deaf and hard of hearing. Years ago, maybe, but not now. All right. Now, just adding on, I had a question here. And talking about technology yesterday, somebody asked me about the Echo 360 system. And I have to tell you, up until yesterday, I knew absolutely nothing about the Echo 360 system. And I had to actually talk to not Jason Barney from Bradley Reporting and find out what it was. And the question basically was talking about how you could get stuff on an Echo 360 captioned and so on. So I was asking Jason how you do that, and he was talking about sending your audio files to a captioner, preparing captions for it, live captioning for lectures that are online and all of that sort of stuff. Now what that told me, although I can't answer the question very well, is that technology is constantly evolving, and I basically don't know everything, and there's a lot that I don't know. So I encourage you today, if anything I don't talk about it among yourselves and share the information. All right. Next slide, please. Now, I want to define the classroom. A lot of people think the classroom is a fixed sort of thing. It's just a teacher talking, people listening, and learning. So, just one way there. Teacher tells, you listen, you learn. But of course, we all know a classroom isn't that. We have an example here online of a classroom, an online virtual classroom. And we're providing access through technology to an Auslan interpreter and captioning at the same time. Among the arrangements we have here, I have a mobile phone. And if somebody asks a question, Darling will send the questions to my mobile phone. So there are lots of technology in play. And how the classroom operates is very different from what it was in the past. Now, a very important message I want to give to you is that it's not just about hearing the instructor. And a lot of the stuff I will talk about today is making sure that the deaf student gets access not only to the instructor, but to discussions that are happening, so to their peer learning as well. And that demands we have a lot of flexibility. We have to be innovative and creative. So just in our head, just think about the classroom and the different ways we learn. We have lecture type things. We have professional development where people are on tables all over the room. We have online learning, all of that sort of stuff. All right? Okay, next slide. I want to talk a little bit about Auslan through VRI. Now, there are two things which people talk about. One is VRI, which means Video Relay Interpreting. What you see Ryan doing is Video Relay Interpreting. Now, there's another one which you may hear from time to time called Video Relay Service. Now that is a service offered by the National Relay Service where you can use Auslan to access a phone. But you can't use it for this sort of thing. You can only use it for phone calls. So when you hear VRS and VRI, there is a difference. I just wanted to make that clear. And obviously VRI is done through different platforms, it's done through Skype, it's done through GoToMeeting. I'm pretty sure there is other webinar software which you can use it as well. And it also can be delivered to a mobile device, an iPad, your phone. And it needs good, fast, reliable internet. You need a very good webcam. And you need a good and reliable audio feed as well. Next slide. Now, talking about the VRI scope, I want to talk about how flexible it is. We've lost the caption on. Should I stop? It's come back now. All right. Moving on. So with the scope of VRI, it could be to your computer. So you could be sitting with your big computer, desktop computer, and you can use VRI that way. You can do it on a mobile device, as I said. You can do it one-on-one, or you can do it in groups. And we'll think about in a classroom here, okay? So think about when you're in a classroom, there might have 4 or 5 deaf people using Auslan in the classroom. Maybe you're in Warrnambool and you've decided to use VRI. It's not really a good idea to have 4 or 5 people gathered around one computer or one laptop. It's very squashy, very inconvenient. So what you do is you can get a data projector, connect it to the computer that BRI is coming through, then B, the interpreter up on screen, so it's large and everybody can see it. Now, I want you to also think that sometimes within a teaching thing, people have breakout groups. They have to go to their table, they have to talk. And now, what can happen is that it's a bit hard to take your computer everywhere with you. So you can get your mobile, log in on your mobile, use the wireless connection, and then you can hold or put your mobile or iPad on a stand, and within that group setting, you can access the interpreter as well. There are different ways to use BRI, thinking about the classroom and teaching techniques, all of that sort of stuff. And also, if you really need to, say for example, the teachers decided to take everybody outside, if you can get a good 4G connection, it can work, but that can be variable. So I don't always recommend it, but if you have to, you can. And remember, with the internet we have in Australia, which I think we are ranked number 60 in the world at the moment, it can be crap. So we need an NBN. So vote Labour at the next elections. And Bill Shorten didn't pay me for that. Next slide. Now, talking about live remote captioning, you can do that in two ways. You can have a captioner present in the room, typing on the stenographer machine, captioning going up on a big screen. You can do it like we do it now, where Rebecca is based. That's Rebecca is a captioner. She's based, could be in Sydney, could be in the Barossa Valley, could be in Brisbane, anywhere. And she listens in on the phone or through the GoToMeeting platform and she captions. That's basically what she's doing now. Again, live remote captioning is provided through Skype, GoToMeeting, and I'm sure there are other platforms as well. Like with BRI, you can use a data projector to put it up on screen. It needs good reliable internet, it needs good audio, all the things you need for BRI. But also, you can use this in group settings as well, because you can log in to GoToMeeting on your phone, on your iPad, or whatever. So if the teacher has group sessions, breakout groups, or whatever, you can organise for that person to log in to GoToMeeting on their iPad or their mobile phone. So when they're in that group, people are listening, they have access to the captioning as well. So there's flexibility to use captioning. A lot of people think captioning is only on screen. It's very one way. But if you think it through, you can use like remote captioning in different situations as well. Next slide. Now, with the captioning scope, like remote captioning, it's very similar to BRI. It can be fixed computer, one-on-one, more than one deaf person with a data projector, straight lecture, group discussions, using on mobile devices. You can use it on 4G, but I can tell you, Bradley reporting, they have nightmares about 4G because it's not reliable. They don't like it, but it can be done. And as I said, with BRI, what perhaps can happen? We need an NBN. Next slide. Now I'm talking about BRI and captioning. Now it's important that you prepare. So we do a DLO, a teacher or anybody that is preparing a learning thing, or people who are deaf or hard of hearing, you need to think about everything that is going to happen. First thing you need to do is you need to test. So you make sure the internet is reliable. You make sure the audio is reliable. Before you do anything, you test and you try and you make sure it can happen. That can be time consuming, but in the long run, everybody benefits. Because if you just go in cold, like we did yesterday, for example, with this, Darlene and James, her and I, me and them, we were testing this, couldn't get the microphone going, couldn't get the speaker going, had to get my son to come in and fix it up. And if you do all the testing beforehand, you iron out all of the bugs. When you come in today, everything's going smoothly, all comes with good preparation. So check the internet, check the audio, have a trial run, give prep material to the interpreters and the captioner so that they can see what's going on. It helps them to predict things, sign better, capture better. And also, one of the things you must do is source another screen. Because one of the biggest headaches you have is the slides or videos or anything, any teaching material is on one screen. And there's no room to beam up the captioner or the interpreter. So have a second screen where they can go on that. And most of all, have a look at how things are being taught. Straight lecture, breakout, are they going outside? Are there group discussions? Where are people located around the room? How many tables? All of that sort of thing. You have to be able to work out what barriers there might be and then problem solve to overcome those barriers. So a very good assessment process of all the teaching, the layout of the room, audio, internet, everything like that needs to happen to make it work effectively. Now, technology will let you down sometimes. If anything will let you down, it will be technology. So always have a plan B. There are lots of plan Bs. I won't elaborate on them. I know it's easier said than done, but have a plan B. Next slide. Now, I'm just going to have a drink. I'm getting a bit froggy, so give me 1 second. Now, for BRI and captioning, the sound system is very, very important. A lot of modern offices, conference facilities, schools, universities, they have really, really good sound systems. They have speakers in the room, they have microphones at the table, they have microphones at the student's desk, all of that sort of thing. Now, those sorts of things mean that there is a good feed to the interpreter or the captioner. Now, you have to remember that mostly the feed comes to one laptop. Now, when you've got that sort of sound system where it's try to make sure the volume is the same all over the room, when you have that sort of sound system, it's great for like remote captioning and BRI, but it doesn't always happen that way. Sometimes you have things happen in school halls. Sometimes people book community centres and there's no technology there. So there's lots of different scenarios which can cause problems. So you need to have a look at the sound system and what you need to do to overcome some of those barriers. So if the interpreter can't hear properly, the captioner can't hear properly, everything's going to fall down. So you need to make sure that sound system, that audio feed is good. Now I have a solution for that. One solution, and I'm going to explain it in the next slide. Next slide. Now the budget pen. Some of you who are deaf or hard of hearing will know about the budget pen. Basically, the budget pen is an FM system that has Bluetooth capability as well. So that means the budget pen can be synced or programmed to different devices. So what can happen is with the pen, the student wears it around their neck. The teacher traditionally has a label, a microphone that goes on their collar or connected to their shirt, and when they talk, the sound goes direct to the budget pen and is fed to the hearing aids or cochlear implant or whatever. So they hear things very, very clearly, cuts out the background noise and so on. Very good for people who are bimodal. Bimodal being the cochlear implant on one side, hearing aid in the other. Or it's very good for people that have hearing aids that are what we call competing hearing aids, and often they have hearing aids at a different branch. So you might have a Phonak in one ear, a Siemens in the other. So the Roger pen is compatible for both. So a lot of deaf and hard of hearing people use the Roger pen to get better access to sound. These are people traditionally that don't use Auslan or whatever. So they like to listen. But the Roger pen allows you also to provide a good feed to interpreters and captioners who are being delivered through a laptop or a mobile device. Now I will explain. I want you to imagine that you are in a school hall. There is internet there. People are sitting in tables, 5 or 6 to the table. At the front, you have a number of speakers. They're speaking about different things. It might be employment, it might be about funding, it might be about instruction, about any professional development thing. And of course, there are activities that happen. So people are asked questions, the people at the back are asking questions, answering questions and so on. The laptop traditionally is at the front where the main speakers are. And that means when the people at the back are asking questions, the captioner and the interpreter can't hear them. And that's frustrating for a deaf or hard of hearing person because they can't get access to all of the learning and all of the discussions. So what you can do with the Roger pen, you can actually program it to be near your computer. You can get a little sound card which goes into the USB drive of your computer. You place the Roger pen near that sound card. And then you can have roving mics, or you can have a number of microphones made by Phonak, which are placed on the tables, or delivered around the tables. And the sound from the back goes direct to the laptop, through the Roger pen. So that gives the interpreter and the captioner a good audio feed from anywhere in the room. So I worked out this system with word of mouth technology, and I encourage you to have a look at word of mouth technology website and talk to Andrew Willis or Bob Willis there about this system and how you can set it up. Okay, next slide. Now I'm going to talk a little bit here about assistive listening devices. Now some people like to listen, but some people like to listen, receive captioning at the same time, or like to listen or receive interpreting at the same time. Now why they like that is say there's a video being shown, there's music, there's explosions or whatever. They like to have access to that sort of sound. They like to have access to the sound that's going on around the room to get a feel of the atmosphere, but they might not necessarily be able to hear everything that's being said, so they need captioning or interpreting, so to make sure that they get full access to communication. But some people just prefer to listen. They can't sign, they don't want captioning, they hear quite okay with assistive listening devices. So I'm going to talk about a few of them. Next slide. Now we know FM systems. A basic FM system is simply a speaker, which is usually with the teacher, and the listener has a receiver, which is usually worn around their neck or attached to their hearing aids. So when the speaker speaks, it goes direct to the listener. And the good thing about an FM system, you can control the sound, how loud you want it. It cuts out the background noise and it allows you to hear well. The limitation is when you've got group situations, a traditional FM system is not so good. It's really one way, teacher to student, and that discussion stuff, not all that positive. Next slide. Now we have a lot of Bluetooth systems as well. Bluetooth to cochlear implant. The Roger system that I told you about is an example of a Bluetooth system. With the Bluetooth, as I explained, it can give you access to group situations because you can use a roving microphone, and whoever's speaking to that microphone is synced or programmed to the Roger pen, so that allows people to be involved. Now I can tell you with the Roger pen it's not always easy to set up, it's not always user friendly, and it takes a little bit of time to learn, but once you get it going well, it's a very effective system. And sometimes you may only have one other microphone. So it means you're running around all over the room giving people microphones to make, and that can be a problem, and it takes a little bit of coordination. Next slide. Now traditionally we had the loop system, and you know the loop, lecture theatres, movie theatres that have a loop system. The old hearing aids used to have a T switch at the back of them, and you turn on the T switch and the loop system would mean the sound would be fed direct to the hearing aid. It allows you to hear the presenter, and if you've got a roving microphone, it means you can hear other people talk as well. But modern technology today is making the hearing loop almost obsolete, and also hearing aids today, many of them don't have a T switch anymore. So there will be a time not far away when the hearing loops are just not there anymore. And the problem with them is they need maintenance. It can be expensive, and they're often not turned on or they're not working. But that old system we had, everybody used to scream out, is the loop working? It's not working. It used to be a nightmare. It gave access in years gone by, but I don't think we'll see much of it in the future. Next slide. Now, I talked about sound field amplification. I spoke about that a little bit later. That traditionally, if you go into a modern venue, you see little speakers all over the room. On the table, there are little microphones. So when you speak, that microphone speeds the speakers all over that room. And it means the volume, anywhere you sit, is the same. So it's great for live remote captioning, and it's great for video relay interpreting, because you can virtually put the laptop anywhere in the room and they'll receive the sound at the same volume as everybody else. Now, the negative with that is that you can't control the amplification. So people with mild to moderate hearing losses, sometimes they love the sound field system because they can hear well wherever they sit in the room. But if you've got a more profound hearing loss, not quite so as effective, but those sound field systems, which are part of venues, can be really effective, and they help hearing people. They help some hard of hearing people as well. So it's a good idea to find out wherever you are whether they have that sound field system. Next slide. Now, I'll just give you some key pointers as I bring this to an end, and at the end of that I will talk a little bit, because I probably should have put this into this presentation, about captioning of online material like YouTube videos and so on. So I'll just go through these key pointers, then I'll talk a little bit about captioning of online material. Now, the first thing to remember is every person is different. Everybody will have a preference. Do not, in your head, think that there is one solution for everybody. There is not. There are standard things that you can do to make things better, but the process should be guided by the person who's deaf or hard of hearing. They know what's best for them. They know what works for them. Let them guide the process. Sometimes they may not know about stuff that I'm talking about today. You can refer them to me or other people. We can talk to them about what those solutions might be. But everyone is different. There is no set way of doing things. And there might be a combination of solutions. A bit of captioning, a bit of interpreting, a bit of sound. All different stuff. So keep your mind open. Good reliable internet, good reliable audio. I can't emphasize how important that is. You need to really investigate how something is being taught. You have to have a look at all of the strategies being used. One-on-one group discussions, videos, online stuff, everything. All of that will have issues of access for a person who is deaf or hard of hearing. Technology offers solutions, but unless you really know how something is being taught, it's very hard to plan how to use that technology. And you can't solve every communication problem. You can improve inclusion, you can improve access, but there will always be some barriers. So if you can't make everything perfect, don't kill yourself. Don't put your hair out, don't stress. You can make it really, really good, but there will always be some barriers. And test beforehand, trial beforehand. The assistive listening devices I told you about are very, very good, but the effectiveness of them depends on the level of the hearing loss. And it also depends on the ability of the person to recognize speech. Now, some people with profound or severe hearing losses, because of the frequency, with good amplification, can actually hear quite well with assistive listening devices. Some people with cochlear implants, for example, hear better than others. Cochlear is more effective for some people than others. So everything varies. So always try the assistive listening devices, and some people will want them with captioning at the same time. or with an interpreter at the same time. And the last bit of advice I can give you is that 4G, a mobile modem, can work, but use it only as a last resort. All right. Now moving on, just quickly, I want to talk about captioning of online material, because this is something which I probably should have put into this presentation. And we know that more and more education is going online. And this year, I cannot tell you how many deaf or hard of hearing people have contacted me and said, I've got videos that are part of my assessment. There are no captions. I have no access. I'm behind with my work. I've asked the university or the tape to give me captioning or transcripts or so on or whatever, and they're not getting them. Or they're getting them a long time after, and that means they're under a lot of stress to keep up with work. So there are solutions to provide captioning quickly. The first of them that I can recommend is that if you're going to use a video as part of a teaching instruction, make sure it's captioned. If it's not captured, don't use it. Make it a policy, and we're pushing this, I'm pushing this, that any video that goes online must be accessible. I see no reason why a deaf or hard of hearing person should have to go through this stress of trying to get access to stuff that everybody else does, when the simple solution is to make sure that the videos are captured. But if you must caption it, there is a way to get it done very, very quickly. There are issues with it. There are issues like copyright, who owns the video, all of that sort of stuff. It's not as straightforward. But when you can, if you need to, you can get things captioned reasonably quickly, within 24 hours perhaps. Now, with Bradley reporting, for example, you can basically get the link for a video or a YouTube video, send it off to Bradley reporting, and they can then get one of their stenographers to type out a transcript of what's happening on the video with timing. And then you would pay the Bradley reporting for the time with the stenographer. And then you get that transcript. And then that transcript, you can either put it on the video yourself using YouTube captioning tool. Amara, I believe Echo 360 has an ability to put captions on as well. But it can be done, and it can be done quickly, and no deaf or hard of hearing person should be waiting 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks to get captions. And I have had one example of a deaf student who has 18 videos, and not one of them are captioned. And I've had one situation where the student has been asked to go online to an SBS, for example, and there's a video that they want them to watch. That SBS online streaming doesn't have captions. So we have a lot of work to do in terms of policy, quality, and making sure all of this online stuff is accessible. And this has been a beef of mine for a very long time, because we recognised way back in 2005 and 2006, as people started to put things online, they put audio files, videos and so on, none of it was accessible to a deaf person. So we need, as a collective, to really work hard on this to make it better. And on that note, I'll end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. That's fantastic. So you answered the questions that we received prior to the time
different aspects.
Yep, no, it's fine. So we haven't, I don't know if anybody actually has any other questions, if they'd like to put in the chat pod and I can ask Gary. While we're waiting for people to do that, we are at the moment with Gary's support and another a disability advisor within the university sector working to develop some content for the ADSET website around captioning videos and so forth. So that will be out in the ADSET newsletter in the near future. So I thank Gary for his contribution to that.
You're welcome, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, and I hope today from getting the wisdom from Gary is really important, but also the practical example that we've shown today. For us, we do live caption every webinar we host. We receive the transcript from Bradley Reporting very soon after the video ends. We are then able to put that transcription into the video so that all our videos, all the webinars are put up online and the live, the captioning are a part of those videos. So it's a very easy process for us. You know, we lacked a bit of confidence at the beginning, but now it's become very easy. Today was another stress because we had something new, again, having the Auslan interpreting online, but once again we hope it's shown that it can be done and done effectively. So there's just one question. What is considered a reasonable time for return of transcriptions? Gary, have you got any ideas on what would be a reasonable time for transcriptions to be returned?
I've spoken to a few people on this who provide the service, and they can say 24 to 48 hours they can get it done. That once you've got that transcript, then you need to add it to the actual video. That might take another 24 hours. But with Bradley Reporting, for example, you can get them to actually do the transcript for you, and they will add the transcript as captions to the video as well.
That's great. And
there are other companies that might do that. AI Media might do that. Captioning Studio might do that.
Excellent. Gary, is there any
I would say
way...
you should wait no more than 1 week, and 48 hours is possible.
Okay, thank you. Do you know of any free or easy way to caption videos yourself? We know that there's the YouTube talk and type, but is there any other software that is available? Do you know of any?
There are several. You've got YouTube. There are two tools on YouTube. You've got auto-generated captions. Leave it well alone. Unless you want a comedy show, auto-generated captions are very, very funny to watch because the way they get translated is bizarre. But YouTube also has a manual tool where if you've got a transcript, you can cut and paste and put it in. And so do the timing and so on. You can use AMARA, A-M-A-R-A. That's another tool to add captions. You can, if you want to do a basic thing, you can use Movie Maker. You can use iMovie. If you can use a word processor, if you can use Word, you can learn how to do captioning on any basic software like Movie Maker or iMovie. And on the website for the ADCET, I have a booklet which talks about preparing accessible media. And it shows you how many lines to put per line for captioning, all of that sort of stuff. It talks about YouTube captioning and it tells you how to do it. So if you need a copy of that, contact me, contact Darling, and have a look.
Okay, so for people, that website is ADCET, ADCET .edu.au. So thank you, Gary.
If you can't find it on there, contact me. I'll get it to you.
Okay, thank you, Gary. We'll finish up now, just being aware of the time. I want to thank everybody for joining us. This has been recorded and we will have it up on ADCET in the next week. It will be captured. We also send out a survey and we really value your feedback, including any ideas on future webinars. The next webinar we will be hosting is called Exploring the Retention and Success of Students with Disability, and that will be held on the 25th of May at 1 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So hopefully many of you will be able to join us. So once again, I want to thank Bradley Reporting and Auslan Services for this, for testing this out with us today. And most importantly, thank you to Gary for his time and also for everybody else that has joined us today. So thank you and goodbye.
And if I can say thank you to Darlene and Jane for making this possible and being willing to experiment. Good job, well done.